how to find your target audience and how to attract your target or ideal audience to you. In this video, we are going to talk about something I call quiet traffic so that people know where to find you and you can ultimately have a successful business. Now, one of the biggest questions people have when starting an online business is, how do people actually find me? How am I going to get any business? And if you've ever wondered how traffic to your website or your social media, whatever platform you're using, without posting constantly or burning out, how you go about getting all of that traffic without those things, this video is for you. In just a few moments, I'm actually going to share a real life example for how you can drive traffic, plus a major myth around traffic. But first, I just want to acknowledge, that number one is traffic is confusing, and it is one of the most confusing parts of an online business. Most advice is really loud and overwhelming, and it doesn't tend to gel well when you are introverted or you're deeply feeling or you're a neurodivergent individual and you often have sensory overload or overwhelm. But quiet, sustainable traffic does exist. And I'm going to talk about how you can go about getting that traffic in ways that are sustainable for you. This is especially important, like I said, if you are introverted or you're a deeply feeling business owner, because this is one of the things that can actually burn you out really quick if you're doing things that are out of alignment with your energy. So we, of course, want to avoid that, right? Like, the idea behind all of this is to have a sustainable business and one that really invigorates and energizes you versus one that you find constantly draining, because then it's like you might as well just either get a job or stay in your job. Because odds are, I'm guessing if you are looking to start your own business as an introvert or deeply feeling woman, then you found that those sort of ways of working is not very helpful. So let's first start by explaining what traffic actually means. Traffic is normally the biggest problem that businesses, new or old, have to solve for. Okay, so it's not a you thing if you've had problems with it in the past. This is one of the hardest things, is traffic and marketing. Those are the two hardest things, especially for any beginner, to solve, because having good traffic solves all issues, right? So having good traffic leads to being able to make sales, and having sales solves all business problems because then you're able to be profitable. So the goal is to get really good qualified traffic, meaning you are attracting people who are right for your business. You're attracting people that are looking to solve their problem now and are ready to buy from you now. So traffic simply means people finding your business, and that's really it. Traffic, though, is not and does not necessarily require going viral or posting every day or chasing algorithms in order to make it work for you and your business. But traffic does require some visibility. It does require discoverability, and it is being findable by the right people. So you want to make sure that the right people can find you. Now, traffic and marketing, of course, are very closely related, because in marketing, good marketing repels those that are not a good fit for you and your business, your product or service, and it attracts those that are a good fit. So that's something to keep in mind. They go very much hand in hand. Now, there are two types of traffic, okay? One type is the active or push traffic. This is something that you tend to see a lot. It tends to be dominant especially in the online space. So this is doing things like social media posting constantly, creating short form content and creating that a lot, doing outreach online, and chasing trends, chasing algorithm trends. Now, if you don't know what an algorithm is, that's okay. It's basically the way that the platforms are set up to push out content. And when you can master that, a lot of times you get a lot of visibility online, but it's constantly changing. So it is hard to chase that, and it can be very draining. This type of traffic with the social media posting and the short form content, it's very fast. It can be very noisy. It's generally very short lived, and it is energy intensive. And let me just pause and say I am recovering from double jaw surgery. So hopefully you can understand me okay. I apologize if my mouth movements are a little off, but as long as you can understand me, that's the goal. So thank you for your grace and understanding in that. Now, the second type of traffic is called quiet or pull traffic. This is doing things like creating search-based content or creating evergreen videos that people are looking for, doing blog posting, tapping into SEO, which is search engine optimization, which essentially is maximizing your online efforts in a way that Google and YouTube or Facebook, whichever, is going to find you. So part of that is like hashtags if you were on Instagram, but part of that is just knowing where to plug things in for that SEO to work. So when you're creating content, knowing where on the page, how to plug it in, that sort of thing. The nice thing with this, though, is there are individuals, one of my mentors who's just fabulous, who teaches SEO, and you can do it in a very good, authentic way, and he walks you through everything. So there are individuals out there who help teach this, so you don't have to do it on your own. You don't have to figure it out on your own. And then the other part is long form content. So quiet traffic is often long form education. Similar to like the video that I am doing now. So, or even the series, right? I'm putting this out. I want to be able to educate you and help you because I spent the better part of 10 years or 8 to 10 years like fumbling around trying to figure out what type of business I wanted. And I don't want you to have to go through that. I want to save you that time. And so I felt like it was really important to put this information out there and help educate so other people don't go through the same struggles. So some characteristics of that quiet or pull traffic is that it is slower at first, okay? It does take time to build, but it is calmer. It is longer lasting, and it compounds over time. And that's really important to keep in mind. You can go slowly, and there is nothing wrong with that. You just want to be mindful of things are not going to happen overnight. And realistically speaking, even with fast traffic, they often don't happen overnight because you're still figuring out what works and having to post constantly. And that can just be very draining. Quiet traffic is not about chasing. It doesn't chase attention. It meets people where they are and where they're already looking. So it's very much drawing people in versus pushing all of your information out, pushing all of that hypey sales stuff. Okay, so let's talk about really the definition of quiet traffic and why it works so well for the right people. Quiet traffic respects energy limits. It doesn't require daily output, so daily posting, daily engagement. It reduces comparison, so you're not constantly comparing yourself to everybody else who's posting every single day. It actually feels more predictable as a business owner. You're able to map things out and do them slowly and in an aligned manner. And it builds trust over time. And it also, backing up to feeling predictable, it's predictable for your audience as well, right? Like if you choose you want to do a live video or post a new video if you wanted to do video every Thursday, well, that's your time, right? That's your time to get stuff out, and you have the whole week leading up to that to prepare, to determine what you want to post or what video you want to make. And then your audience knows that on Thursday, you're going to release something new. So quiet traffic is especially supportive if you prefer depth over noise. And this naturally supports attracting your ideal audience in that manner. So let's talk about how people actually find you online. People find businesses or find you by searching a question or looking for a solution. Often they're searching online for the solution. By comparing options, so they're looking at 3 different options. And then also by learning before buying. And depending on what type of business you have, this is very important too, because people don't want to be sold to, but they want to buy stuff. So it's really important to kind of marry your traffic and your marketing with that idea in mind, right? They want to buy from someone that they trust. They want to buy from someone that they like. And there's certain products out there that are very transactional. But even, thinking about going to a supermarket or a grocery store, right? Like you probably have one that you prefer. Maybe you prefer Whole Foods over Walmart, right? Or something like that, because you like that brand better. And so that is, just part of that kind of brand image that like Whole Foods has, being Whole Foods and being healthier versus Walmart, which is more price driven. So this is really how to find your target audience, is by, or how your target audience finds you, I should say. And this is how you can get traffic to your website or get traffic to your content without pressure, right? So not having to be everywhere on every single platform. You don't have to post every single day. And you can create information that is really helpful for people. Because again, most people don't want to be sold to, they want to be helped, right? There's an example where, someone goes to buy a hammer and they don't want a hammer, they want a hole. They want to nail something in, they want a hole in the wall. Or they want to nail something, right? So you have to think about what is that need that they are really looking to fulfill. What is it that they're looking to be helped with? So let's talk a little bit about search-based traffic. Search-based traffic would be something like YouTube, a YouTube search, a Google search, a Pinterest search, or searching for blog articles. You are often answering questions for your audience that have to do with how do I, or what is the best blank. Should I choose X, Y, or Z? How does this thing work, or how does this method work, whatever it is. And when you create content that answers those real questions for individuals, then traffic becomes a byproduct. It's not something that you chase like you do on a lot of, like TikTok and like those short form content platforms. Again, you do not need to be everywhere. This is really critical to know. And I get it if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, but like, I don't know where my audience is hanging out. I don't know where to find them. I don't know what they're looking for most. And this is where something like using AI like ChatGPT comes in really handy to help get you started. You can ask ChatGPT to say, here's my target audience, here's who I'm looking to serve. What sort of things would they be searching for? And where are they looking to find this information? And see what it gives you, right? Like it might say, oh, well, your target audience is mostly on LinkedIn, or your target audience is mostly on YouTube. And if it doesn't give you those sorts of platform ideas, then you can go back and ask it, okay, whatever output it gives you, okay, great. Where would I find them? What sort of platform would I find them? And that can be very helpful to help you narrow it down so you're only on one platform. I cannot stress that enough. One. I have tried being on all the platforms. I didn't do anything well. It was really overwhelming. It does not work when you're multitasking and you're, maybe you're looking to leave your 9 to 5, or maybe you're a mom and you are of young kids and they're home all the day and all you have is like an hour in the evening, right? So being on all the platforms is not going to get you anywhere in the beginning because it's just not sustainable. So just remember, one platform is enough, one format is enough, and one message repeated calmly, authentically, and in alignment with who you are is enough. It really is. You don't need to grow faster, you don't grow faster by being everywhere, okay? You grow faster by being consistent in one place. And that's something that's really important to keep in mind. You can always incorporate other platforms later, but to start, just focus on the one. So let's talk about where traffic really comes from. It comes from being really clear, not having a large volume. And this is actually a really big myth that I want to kind of dispel. Most people think that more posts equals more traffic, and more platforms equals more growth. And the truth is that clarity attracts more and confusion repels. So not only does confusion repel, but also the messaging can repel as well. And that's good. You want your messaging to repel because you don't want to be everything to everyone. That gets confusing for people. And then that ends up repelling them too. So clear messaging attracts the right people, even with less content. So that's something really important to know, okay? You just want to have a clear message. Content, traffic, and trust really work together. Content builds trust, traffic brings people in, and trust leads to action, okay? And when it comes to traffic and marketing, it is your content that is your marketing. And that's what's going to bring people in. And that's what's going to allow people to trust you once they kind of get to know you, okay? So there is a level of vulnerability, and it depends on what your comfort level is. Like, you don't have to be on video. There are different ways to work where you can actually have YouTube, sell things on YouTube without being on video. And I'm not saying like AI, like that is an option, but it's not necessary. There's still other workarounds. And again, that's one thing that one of my mentors teaches. And Paul Murphy, he's phenomenal with this sort of thing. So traffic, the point I really want to drive home is traffic without trust doesn't convert, and trust without traffic can't grow, right? So you can get people to trust you, and maybe they really like you, but if they're not your target audience, they're not going to buy from you. So that's something to really keep in mind. And that's why it all kind of fits together like a nice little puzzle piece. So let's talk about a real life traffic example. I want to pause here and walk you through a very real, very common example of how traffic might actually work, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. So step number 1 is you want to start with the end in mind. You start with the end in mind, but you don't start at the end. So let's say that your long-term goal is to be a coach or consultant. So that doesn't mean that you start coaching right away necessarily. Okay, you could, but you may want to first have lower pressure and have fewer sales conversations. And you may want to have time to build up skills and build up some initial income. So because of this, you decide to start with affiliate marketing. So the idea, the end in mind is I want to do coaching. And before that, I'm going to start with affiliate marketing. And then you're going to pick your product that aligns to anchor your traffic. So you pick one product. This is step 2. You pick one product, one that solves a real problem for your target audience. Ideally, it's something you use or something you understand or something you believe in. And the product really becomes the anchor. It's not the focus of every piece of content, okay? Step 3 then is you create educational content around the platform, the problem, right? On your chosen platform. Now, instead of talking about the product all the time, you create content around the problem that it solves. So examples of this would be podcast episodes. That's a great way to draw in traffic if you don't want to be on camera and you just want to get comfortable speaking. That is, honestly, I had tried videos previously and then I did a podcast and I'm like, that was so much easier for me to get started with because I didn't have to worry how I looked. Now I just don't care. But I got all this, jaw surgery and dental stuff going on and it's like, yeah, whatever. But it did help me to get more comfortable doing the podcast episodes. And so that's a really good example of a great way of getting started. You could create YouTube videos. You could create blog posts, or you could create educational social content. Now, the content is going to focus on explaining one problem. It's going to focus on common mistakes that people make, what to look for in a solution, and things that people should consider. So when it's appropriate, you mention the product as one possible solution, not the only one, because people also aren't going to trust if you say this is the one thing that's going to fix all your problems, because everybody's different too, right? And they may be looking at it from a different lens. I mean, I will recommend things based off of what I have found helpful for me, and so I really believe in it. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the right fit for you or be the right fit for whoever I'm talking to, right? So it's your job to recommend what you believe in, but not tying that them buying to that to like your value, right? Your own personal value. And that is a whole thing that we'll get into in another video. But this is not, if people don't buy, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong, right? Necessarily. There's nothing wrong with you. Let me say that. There's nothing wrong with you. That does not affect the value or your worth. And again, this is something for a later video that I will get into, but I just want to kind of normalize that because that is something that I really struggled with when I started too, is that every time, and I still kind of do, I think it's just human nature, but when people don't buy and you put all this effort into it, it is really disheartening, and it's easy to take it as there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong, people don't like me, that sort of thing. And that's not true. Like, it's just not the right fit for them. Right? Now there may be some skill you need to build up, and that's okay, because it's trial and error and you have to keep working on those skills. But it is something that you can build upon. So I digress. I've gotten a little bit off on a tangent, but step 4 is how traffic actually comes in. The traffic can come from a search, like I talked about before, which is searching through YouTube or Google or searching for a podcast. It can come from using hashtags on certain platforms like Instagram. It can come from sharing content consistently if you are building a website, or if you're not, even if you're just like if you're doing a blog post, I mean. And you don't have to build your own website to do that, but you can use something like Substack if you wanted to do something like that. But essentially sharing content consistently on whichever platform it is that you choose. Or you can choose to run ads to the content, but you don't want to run it directly to the sales page, right? You want to run it to the content. Sorry, I just hit my microphone there. So it's important to know that you're not running ads to a buy this now type of thing. You're running ads to education. Okay. This is really what helps keep it ethical and keep it calm and keep it in alignment, is running it to your content. And I think just not feeling icky about it, right? Because again, you're helping someone. So then step 5, in terms of what happens next, is this is really where the magic happens, okay? So this is where a compound effect takes place. People start watching and they start listening. They learn from you. They trust you. Some click your link and some don't. And like I said, that's okay. But over time, patterns emerge. And then you can start to read what those patterns are, what that data is telling you. It's important to note that traffic isn't about forcing people to act, okay? It's about giving them a clear path so that when they are ready, they act. So you just want to make sure you're pointing them in the right direction, and then they will choose to buy or they won't, but it's all based off of when they are ready to do so. And then step 6, this is what supports your business long term. So as you do this, as you, again, keep in mind, we're starting with the end in mind, but we're not starting there. So we want to be a coach. So we do affiliate marketing. And so we pick a product. And as you do this, and then we start creating content to help educate. And then as you do this, you're not just generating affiliate income, you're also learning how to attract the right people. And this is one of the reasons why I think affiliate marketing is such a great place to start, because of the fact that that's what your sole focus is, on attracting the right people. And throughout this process, you're learning what people respond to, you're learning what questions to ask, what language really resonates, what problems show up repeatedly. And then later, when you eventually introduce coaching or consulting, you're not starting from zero, you're building on the trust that already exists. If you're just starting, your goal is not massive traffic, okay? Your goal is clear traffic, understanding how to bring them into you, right? How to bring your audience into you. It's answering real questions. It's helping one person at a time. And then it's letting that content build over time. And so I'm going to give you a permission slip, okay? A permission slip on what to ignore. Now, you can choose to ignore this or not. You can choose to ignore my permission slip, but I just want you to know that you do have permission to ignore daily posting rules. You can ignore viral hacks. You can ignore worrying about the algorithm or algorithm panic. How is Facebook or Instagram pushing out my content? And you can ignore trend chasing. And there's a lot of people who teach this kind of stuff, and then you can ignore those who teach it too, unless that's something you really want to do. But if certain advice from the traffic gurus out there makes you feel frantic, it's a good sign that it's probably not aligned traffic methods, okay? So I just want to reiterate that you don't need loud traffic to build a successful business. You just need aligned traffic. People who are already looking for what you offer. Quiet traffic builds slowly, but it builds something that lasts, and it builds something that's sustainable, okay? So leave me a comment and let me know if this was helpful or what questions you have, because then I can address that in future videos too. And then make sure you also subscribe so you're getting all the latest information. In the next video, we're going to talk about what the biggest differentiator is from those who succeed and from those who fail. And this is really the 80-20 in business that very few, if any, talk about in a real way and in a way that it really deserves. So I hope that was helpful. And again, leave me a comment, let me know what questions you have, and I will see you in the next video.